Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Snapped Windsor podcast. My name is Dan Brown, and we're sitting down with Jeff Casey here. We just made up the name to this. It's a very new initiative, and we're in a new space. And tell us a bit about where we are and what we're doing here.
All right, so, I guess obviously we're here shooting our first episode of our the Snapped Windsor podcast. Really the motivation behind doing this is to put a voice behind some of our pictures, give a little bit more in depth about some of the great things that are happening in our community. I want to focus on some of the nonprofit organizations that are doing great things, some of the community initiatives that are really moving our community forward and putting that positive spin on everything. There's so many great things that are going on. Just to give a little bit more of a voice to them. We're going to meet some interesting people, hear about some amazing events that are coming up, and maybe get in depth of some of the nonprofits so people can get, a little bit better understanding of exactly what their goals and mission are. It's very happy to have you here as our host for this. I think it's going to be great, and looking forward to seeing some of the stories that you can, draw out of people and organizations to see, all the great things going on.
What was the process for you to decide to do a show like this?
I was approached by the people at WePodcast, and they're like, through this idea. I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. Like, and then the idea of, okay, well, I think I feel as though I kind of have a face for radio, so I didn't really want to be on it. And, you were the first guy that I hired with Snapped, and I wasn't even looking to hire someone. You had impressed me so much with your work ethic, your personality.
Do you remember you told me no?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Right away, I said, you want a job with me, and I'm not hiring, so no, I can't hire you. But, if you want to come help out with, I think we're doing our launch. And you came and you worked the front door with, some executives from our head office, and they came back to me and said, you got to hire this guy. Yeah. Like, you got to find a way to make sure he's involved with you. I said, I kind of got the same feeling, so, absolutely. So, lo and behold, it's like, Dan, you want to come help me out? And that was it.
Yeah, and I think it was just you and I for the first paper.
Yep. It definitely
every
was.
Event. I think it was March 2013.
Yeah. And we both became the Snap Guys.
Snap Guys, yeah.
Right? Snap Guys. Now there's a few other of us that are running around. We got Simon and Mike and Marina. All do a great job. So now we're like Snap Guys and
team.
Snap Girls.
Yeah.
And, so it's, I think I'm pretty proud of kind of where Snapped Windsor has gone in the community. We've got strong positive relationships with some of the pillars of our community. People are excited to see us when we walk through the door. Like, Snap's here, they came. Like, no event's too small for us. I can remember one of our first events, my first event that I went into, and it was at a Legion I think it was on Wyandotte, and I walk in, and it was like 40 sets of eyeballs on me, like, who's this guy, first of all?
Yeah.
And so when I go up and talk to some of the organizers, I'm like, you're from Snap, here to take some pictures of your event. They're
was I there for that one?
No.
Oh, no?
I remember distinctly that it was just me in there, and then go around to some of the vendors, take pictures, and they were like, oh my God. Actually, somebody, thought to come out and cover our event.
I remember I think mine was at a Legion too, and I think we had done a couple together. And then you didn't tell me, but we drove up to one, and you're like, okay, I'm staying in the car for this one. And go in there, and I want like 15 pictures or whatever. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, I want to take I want to be professional. I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah. And I think I hadn't, I didn't know how to work a camera at the time. So I picked that up on the way. And then like 9 months went by, and I remember hitting like 300 events or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on.
And we're so much more busy now. I mean, our averages for each month are around 300. Like the number of events that get submitted to us. I mean, not all of them require coverage, but we do get so many events submitted to us. It was actually a good lead in here because just to make sure people understand what we do, people visit our website, submit an event, and then that's where they can request a photographer. That event then goes directly onto our calendar, digital calendar, and with the relationship that we have with the City of Windsor, it goes right onto the City of Windsor website as well under their calendar. community calendar. If we're able to, which generally we are, we will cover an event. We'll take pictures, and those go onto Facebook, and then we'll put them on our website. They go into our print publication, a select few. We often do Instagram posts. So there's quite a bit happens when somebody submits an event with us. It's it's a great thing when people are getting a little bit of recognition and free promotion for their events. So
great.
Anyways, again, back to the podcast. We're just hoping to put a few more voices and words behind some of the events and stories that are happening out there. So really looking forward to this.
Great. And what you're about to watch is the first ever episode of the Snap Windsor podcast, where we sat down with Kim and Kerri from the Canadian Mental Health Association, Victoria and Greg from the Windsor Residence for Young Men, and Stephanie Seguin from Chasing Hazel Foundation.
You got it.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, everyone. I am here with Stephanie Seguin, the founder of the Chasing Hazel Foundation. Thank you for joining us, Stephanie, and tell me a bit about the foundation.
So we're a new foundation in Windsor. We just started, and we service mainly the Down syndrome community right now. But really our message is just appreciating everybody's differences and respecting them for those differences, and really realizing that they bring a lot to our community, and respecting them for that contribution.
And how new is it?
We officially launched in March this year.
Right.
It was World Down Syndrome Day, actually, or
Great.
the day before World Down Syndrome Day that we launched. So it was fun.
So what's behind the name?
Well, my daughter's name is Hazel. She's 5, and so she was born with a couple of pretty serious health issues that are often associated with Down syndrome, and so the first 6 months of her life were pretty, tough to take. We back and forth the doctors and everything, but mainly it wasn't that. It was that all of a sudden we had this baby who was our first baby who had Down syndrome, and we were really lost and confused and sad. That's really not what we wanted. It's not what we expected, and we didn't have any genetic testing, so she came to us with Down syndrome and we had no idea. So moving forward from that,
What was that like for you, the finding out? Did it happen at birth? Because
that's when we got the 100%. Yeah.
Got it.
We had some markers when I was pregnant. However, like I said, we didn't have the genetic testing, so there was nothing like that could tell us 100%, and any further testing was just really risky for me, in my opinion, and my husband's opinion. So we didn't do it.
So what was it like to find that out?
During the pregnancy, it was really rough because for me, I didn't have her there to hold her and meet her. So I was angry, but then she was born, right? And so we knew that this could be a possibility, and we're going into this and we have no idea. It's like 50-50. She's gonna come out. We're gonna see then.
Yep.
And she came out, and I looked at Matt, and he was like, she's perfect. And
Yeah.
the rest is history.
Yeah.
So, we had our moments, we had our grieving. I think most of it was when I was pregnant, because like I said, when you don't have like a human being there, to hold and love, it's hard, right? It's just a concept. And so as soon as they put her in our arms, it was like, okay, this is our baby. Let's be the best parents that we can be to this kid with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, now I have an organization that supports individuals with Down syndrome. And, I can't believe my life brought me here sometimes.
What were those first 5 years like?
The first 6 months were really rough because, like I said, she had she had a heart condition and a bowel condition when she was born. So that was really rough. I mean, she was just not a healthy baby. As soon as she had her open heart surgery, she literally went from this really frail, skinny looking baby to this super chubby, happy, content baby. And so I would say from 6 months on, it looked a lot like anybody else's life would look. That was a kid without Down syndrome. And we did all the same things. We fed her, we taught her to walk, we taught her to talk, we took her to play dates, we did all the things. And still to this day, I mean, as she grows, we just do all the same things that every other parent does for their kids. We advocate for her and we support her the best way we can. So, and yeah, of course it comes with different, you know, she has some therapies that, you know, typically developing kids don't have, but that's just our life, you know, that is like quote unquote normal for us now. So, yeah, so it's a lot the same as every other parent, but a little bit different.
What are some of those differences?
Just the therapies and stuff, I think mainly. There's so many appointments. It's really calmed down now a lot, though.
Okay.
I mean, it's, like I said, the first little while was a lot. It was just like, you know, assessments but now she's in school. She goes to kindergarten. Her sister goes to kindergarten. They just, you know, I mean, she has an EA at school, but I mean, that's the only difference, you know. She goes and she does the best she can. She comes home and we do the best we can. And, you know,
So she's your firstborn?
Yeah.
Got it. So the added challenge, I imagine. Yeah, just having a kid. I can't imagine.
Just in general.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
kids are
exactly.
high maintenance.
Yes.
Yes, generally. Yeah, both of my kids are high maintenance. Yes.
So when did you first have the idea to start this foundation?
Probably when Hazel was 6 months old.
And you started to notice the differences in parenting, or the
Yeah, I started to notice that there was a whole world of people out there that were going through the same thing as we were going through. And for us, that was really important to know, and just to connect with other families has been, you know, it was something that we really felt like we wanted. And for our, you know, journey or whatever you want to call it, for our experience with Hazel, we felt we really wanted to connect with other families. And so we started outreaching. And then, you know, with social media, I mean, we have friends all over the globe, you know, who are going through, yeah. And it's amazing because we're all there for each other, and it's like a little family. It's like our little Down syndrome family, and everybody supports everybody and helps everybody. And it's, I wanted to bring that, you know, into our local community more. And so that's why we started our foundation. And then in the foundation, we do the play groups at the college, and it's open to individuals with Down syndrome from 0 to 12 and their siblings. So parents don't have to get sitters. Just come, bring your family, bring mom, dad, everybody comes. And, you know, we play, we face paint, we play soccer, the parents can go, or they're welcome to go into a different room and just chill out, have a coffee. You don't have to watch your kids because we have volunteers from the college, like ECE students there and concurrent ed students. And it's just like a beautiful time, like, to build a community in the Down syndrome community, so we can all just kind of connect and share. So that was part of our experience. I mean, that's what we wanted right away. So I think the idea for this foundation was sort of born at that moment.
Got it.
And then just took, you know, time.
And to be clear, I guess this is an obvious question, but what is Down syndrome, and how does it affect someone who has Down syndrome and their family?
Okay, so Down syndrome is a third copy of the 21st chromosome. Yes. Okay, so it honestly affects everybody. Every individual with Down syndrome is affected differently. I don't love how some people say that there's high functioning versus low functioning, because I feel that there's room for everybody, you know, and if you're low functioning or high functioning, you're still a human, so there's room for you. And our community needs to make room for everybody with every ability. So yeah, it affects everybody differently, but you know, you can have low muscle tone, which Hazel has. So it just takes her a lot longer to do certain things. Not everything, because she's an overachiever in some ways, but you know, like walking can be difficult, talking can be difficult, because low muscle tone doesn't only affect your gross motor, right? It affects your fine motor. It affects all the muscles in your mouth. So it can make it difficult to understand a person with Down syndrome who's speaking, and they have to work a lot harder to articulate than we would have to. It's cognitive delays. There's so many different health things that a person can have, but I know many people with Down syndrome that were born perfectly healthy. Yeah. So it's just interesting. It kind of affects everybody differently, but those are a few things anyway.
So tell me about, you started with the play dates, and building a community, I guess both online and offline.
Yeah, I
mentioned?
mostly started online, I think, for
Yeah.
a while. Well, because I was trapped in my house with 2 children, because we had our second daughter really quickly, and so then it was like anything I could do on my phone, right? And so we just started outreach. I started outreach to just everywhere, and it's just there's so many cool things going on in the world to support individuals with Down syndrome or autism or whatever, and they're sharing, and it's just inspiring to me. And so to bring a little bit of those ideas into our local community was, I was so happy to be able to do that.
And tell me about your vision for this foundation. I know it's less than a year old.
Yes,
There's an
it's
important day coming up.
Yes. World
and
Down Syndrome Day.
World Down Syndrome Day. And where do you see this going?
Oh man, one thing I have learned having children is that you really don't know where life is going to bring you. I do have a huge vision for this foundation that it outstretches to the community at large. I would rather get on my soapbox and talk to a community of people who have never met an individual with Down syndrome. I just think that I want to be approachable. I want people to want to ask me questions. I don't want people to worry about the terminology they use. I don't want people to feel like they're going to offend me by saying, a Down's kid or a Down syndrome kid, although that is not preferred language. I'm not going to judge you for saying, something maybe not politically correct.
Right.
But so I'm hoping to be a resource to people, just be out in the community and talk about things that make people uncomfortable, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sort of make it comfortable, hopefully.
Yeah.
If I'm succeeding, everybody's going to be comfortable.
And I think there's something deeper to this you were mentioning when we were outside that I connected to is there's something about this that's more than just Down syndrome or more than disabilities. There's something about owning and loving your differences and using that as a place of like a superpower or a strength.
Right.
Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that we live in a society where we talk about being different like it's a good thing. But then when it really comes down to being different, you're sort of like, oh, you need to move off to the side now because I don't know how to talk to you. But no, I think there's a place for everybody, and that I think the only way we can make people comfortable with these differences is by talking about it in a way that is casual and easy. So I try to do things that are fun and, spark conversation, let it lead where it's going to lead, So yeah, I feel like just we all have our own thing that we offer our community, and I think that for somebody to be able to really pull out, no, you're different because you have Down syndrome and that's amazing. Why don't we talk about that? Like, why is that so cool? Instead of shh, don't stare, don't ask. It's like, no, it's okay, you can ask, it's fine. So
that's the only way something will change.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So for people who are watching, whether they are the parent of a child with Down syndrome or someone in their family, or they just want to get involved, what can they do?
Well, you can go to our website and read about that, or contact me in any way, anytime. I mean, I'm around Facebook, Instagram, email. But mainly our big event for community is World Down Syndrome Day. So I would love to see people rocking their socks. Put on some funky mismatched socks.
Okay.
Wear them over your pants. Wear them so everybody can see them. And when somebody asks you, you tell them that you're supporting people with Down syndrome.
Great. And the date for that?
March 21st.
March 21st, 2018.
Yes.
And every year after.
And every year, every day, every March 21st, I will be wearing funky socks.
Great.
Yes.
Glad to hear. Is there anything else that you want to add? Okay. Well, thank you for being
Thanks
with us
for
here today.
having me.
Thank you for sharing your story. This is the incredible Stephanie Seguin, the founder of the Chasing Hazel Foundation. Hi, everybody. I'm sitting down with 2 people from the Windsor Residence for Young Men, Greg Goulin, the Pro Bono Executive Director, and Victoria Angelini, Youth Outreach Worker. Welcome, both of you.
Hi.
Thank you. And I understand the Windsor Residence for Young Men started about 5 years ago in 2013. Or first of all, what is it?
Well, it provides transitional housing skills. In other words, the skills that young people need to live on their own. To young men or young persons who identify as male between the ages of 16 to 20, although we do take them a bit older depending on their degree of sophistication. But it's called transitional housing. In other words, one has to learn at a very very quickly at a very early age how to live on their own. And those are not just basic life skills, but they're often extreme emotional challenges to be dealt with as well.
And this is a relatively new thing, and I believe the only so it's a facility, correct?
Well, it started in 2000, and we finally got the funds together and found the appropriate facility in 2012. That's when we opened our doors. But the concept is not new.
Right.
In fact, when we did open the doors of RIM, as we call it, Windsor Residence for Young Men, WRYM, we soon learned that Windsor had been the only community in Canada without such a facility for young men.
Wow.
While we had 3 similar transitional housing facilities for young women.
And I have to ask, so is that the origin story of this? Is that you saw there was a piece missing of the services here? How did this all come to be?
My previous background for 40 years was as a criminal law specialist. And how can I say it? So often you find with crime, it's a matter of desperation. And you see so many, particularly young men who come before the courts where you think, well, what if this had changed or that had changed? No, that was my particular motivation for it. But Victoria, how can I say it? When our guys, as we call them, leave us, it's called aftercare. It's like your children. And I'm an older person, but when my children went off, and I'm quite proud of each and every one of them, they've been very successful by the grace of God, and some effort, hopefully, on our part. But they still come back. They still have questions. They still need, to a certain extent, support. I mean, quite often when I get the phone call, I have to tell them, well, don't do it this way. It didn't work. But it's that shared life experience, the knowledge that is shared through a family and passed down. Victoria helps our graduates, our past residents who have formed their own, much to our surprise, their own brotherhood. And she guides them through the challenges that they do face individually, sometimes in common, after they leave us when they move on to live on their own.
So you work with them once they've transitioned out of the space. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Great. And tell me a bit about what that's like. And I'm curious. I mean, I have to ask first and foremost what the gender differences are. I imagine there are different pressures and obstacles that you see. So what is it like?
Well, I mean, while they're in the residence, I build rapport with them and get to know who they are individually. They get to know who I am and what I do in my position. And then afterwards, when they're discharged, continuing and maintaining that support with them. Meeting up with them, maybe once a week or once a month for coffee and, going over and reviewing the things that they left off at while they were still with us at RIM. And, maintaining that contact. I had somebody had asked me, how do I clean an oven? So, going over that with them, explaining to them, these are the steps to take because they don't have somebody to contact and I'm their number one contact right now, or RIM would be their contact. So, it's interesting, but there is a lot of challenges with it.
And I imagine, they don't stop. That's a new level once you transition out. That's a whole new set of challenges that they're ready for.
And once a week they'll come to the residence and they have brotherhood night is what they call it, and that gives them the night to take a couple hours off of their regular days and have fun and have a meal and talk amongst each other and tell each other, you know, this is what I went through when I was at RIM, and share that.
So they come to the people. Great, yeah, I can only
yeah,
imagine.
and share that story with each other, and then get to know each other and build that bond, you know, as brothers. And that's what they like to refer to each other as.
Well, and which brings up another point. We become, for some of them, the only functional family that they have known, and for others, a second family.
And I have to ask one final thing, because I think it's easy to think for someone who is experiencing homelessness, that could never happen to me, or, you know, if it happened to me, I would be able to get out of it. And do you, maybe, Victoria, have an example of somebody who found themselves in a situation that they didn't think they would be in, and how things worked out for them? Some kind of, do you have a specific story that comes to mind? As much as you can share.
I wouldn't say I have a specific story
Okay.
for that. A lot of the times they don't realize that they're in the position that they're in until reality hits. And that reality may look like, I have to take a bus, I have to register for social assistance, I have to cook a meal, you know, independently, like many different things that they'll have to do. And then that's when the reality will set in for them. And with the barriers that they may have or come with, that's what Greg was speaking to, I apologize. You know, we will refer them out into the community and get those barriers or those issues that they may be having or experiencing, I wouldn't necessarily say resolved, but dealt with. And in my position for the aftercare, with what Greg was saying, the food banks, you know, a lot of them will call me and say, hey, you know, I need a food package, and, you know, we'll refer them to the food banks or to, you know, places that have those needs for them. So,
Got it. And then
I do remember, if I may,
Yeah.
I believe it's our first two residents. They were brought to us by members of the Windsor Police Department, not because they were in trouble, but because they found these two young men, they were brothers, sleeping in a dumpster. And this was back when we were still recovering from the effects of the recession. And generally speaking, the story goes that Dad went north to find a job, found a job, and then sent for Mom and the children under 16. Because the age of parental responsibility in Ontario ends at 16. That's why the children's aid assistance has to be cut off to a certain extent at 16. And so these brothers, one was 16 and I believe one was around 20, were on their own. They were told, I can remember these stories, hearing these stories about the recession. Well, I'm sorry, we can't afford to keep you within the family anymore. There's younger brothers and sisters, and you're going to have to move off on your own. And it was a terrifying experience to them. I mean, there are many facilities in our community to provide food and shelter, but they were just, they found that overwhelming. They found it very a frightening experience, and so they chose this dumpster. And it was getting cold. And so they brought them to us, and it worked out very well for them in the long run, because they had been provided for. That's just but one example.
Yeah. Do you know where they are now?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But that provides but one example of where economic deprivation can affect a functional family to the point where there had to be this choice. Now, that is but an extreme example. Every one of our guys is unique. And I'm not saying this because I'm a nice guy and all that stuff. No. Everyone comes in with a unique personality, a unique set of issues, a unique reason for being homelessness. And these sort of things have to be sorted out. But the commonality of the challenges they face has to be introduced to them. And that's how the brotherhood is formed. There is, while we're all unique persons facing unique challenges, there's commonality of issues and problems.
Great.
And that's where they find that people they've never met before are the brothers who have their back.
Got it.
It's like they fit. They
Right.
fill the holes that the others have within their lives and their personalities. Strengths and weaknesses complement each other.
Right. And then just to wrap up here, how can people learn more and how can they get involved?
They can visit our website at www.wrym.ca or call us at 226-221-8464. Our location is Shepherd and Langlois at 1505 Langlois. But they can also contact our executive director as well or our program director.
And we'd appreciate that before they attend our facility, that they call first.
Okay.
It's a place of sanctuary.
Got it.
And
Got it.
shelter.
Okay.
It's the opposite of Hotel California.
Yes.
You can leave anytime you want. You just can't get in.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you. I think what you're doing is incredible and important, and thank you for your time today. This has been Greg and Victoria with the Windsor Residence for Young Men. Hi, everybody. I am Dan Brown, and I'm sitting here with Kerri Hill, the Fund Development Officer, and Kim Willis, Director of Communications and Mental Health Promotion with the Canadian Mental Health Association. And this is an exciting conversation because we're talking about an event which I understand is sold out.
Yes.
Is it the first year that you're doing this?
Yes.
So first year, it's called Rock Your Soul, October 27th.
Yes.
And tell me about the event.
So one of our ambassadors for the Soul Focus project, Jasmine JC, was interested in doing an event in support of the campaign. And she brought together a committee, and they wanted to do something that fit with the whole theme of the campaign. And so they named it Rock Your Soul. It's basically a party in support of the campaign with a rock and roll theme happening October 27th at Water's Edge.
Great. And so it's, and that's a fairly new venue itself, new event.
Yes.
What do you think, what would you attribute it selling out to?
An amazing committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jasmine and her committee have been amazing. And Jasmine herself has been quite open about her own struggles with mental illness, and I think she has just great support from within her network, and they really wanted to do something in support of her and something that was near and dear to her heart. So we have been overwhelmed by the community support and those wanting to attend this event, and it's sold out in like 3 weeks.
Wow,
So,
that's solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You couldn't ask for anything better.
All right. And could you share a little bit of her story, or as much as that she's public with, or?
Yeah, I mean, I she's just dealt with some anxiety issues since she was younger, and so for her, the part that's near and dear to her heart is really the outreach to youth, because she believes that if that education and support had been available to her when she was in school, it would have made a huge difference. So the funds raised from the campaign will go towards providing that education and training to youth and going into schools.
Great. And what can people expect at the event?
So we have the band Greatest Hits Live playing that evening, as well as DJ Urban Chris, who has worked with a lot of stars that people will know, like Eminem and Dr. Dre. So he brings in a percussionist to accompany his music. So it'll be a really fun evening, not a typical gala night.
Right.
So it's, some loungy seating and great food provided by Coulini's and Naples Pizza. So
Great.
yeah.
And I've seen what they can do with the inside of the space. I can already imagine they really, with the lighting. Yeah.
It's
So-
it'll be very neat. And the other element that is part of the event is a raffle for a Harley Davidson.
Okay.
So tickets are still available for that.
Got it.
It's $150, but there's only 300 tickets available.
Got it.
So you have a
We'll
good
be doing a
chance.
draw that night as well.
Yes.
So.
And where can people get those tickets?
They can contact one of us at CMHA,
Great.
and information is also on the website about how you can buy a ticket.
All right. And for people who didn't get a ticket this year, is it something that we're looking at doing again, or we'll see? We'll see. Okay, we'll see how this one goes.
Fingers
Let's not get
crossed,
ahead of ourselves. Yeah, I mean, good work. That's really exciting, I guess. If you missed your chance to come to this event, have a look at the Canadian Mental Health Association and their Soul Focus project. This is Kim Willis and Kerri Hill with the CMHA. Hey everybody, thank you for watching the first ever episode of the Snapped Windsor podcast. I hope you enjoy it. This was a free episode, and if you'd like to watch the ones we do in the future, have a look at WePodcast.ca to sign up, or you can download the app on your Android or iPhone device. We hope you enjoyed this, and see you in the next episode.